Yeah, I'd like you to think about this whole month almost as a cycle. The entire thing is cyclical. So we're not going to add a lot more information. We're just going to continue to come back to the same types of lessons. And so for this one, let's just say it's day 4, and you're feeling a little bit anxious because you've been adding some post on the wall of wins, and it's kind of triggered you potentially to feel like, oh, I'm sharing too much. um, what I'd like to see in this month is our ability to say, okay, well, maybe that felt a little bit out of my zone. Tomorrow I'm gonna do a little bit of work with my breathing and my movement. But tomorrow I'm gonna add something that feels a little bit more in my channel, that's still pushing me, but it's not pushing me out of the zone. And so I think it's really important here to kind of detach the imagery of sports, and think more about your life. You're a parent, you're a colleague, you're a friend, you're a steward of the earth, you're an animal owner, you are a client, you're a boss. I mean, we play all of these different roles. And so thinking about picking one or two areas in your life that feel like the ones that you really kind of want to do a little bit more practice, um, using this type of imagery can be really helpful for you to understand and decide what is the next best step, maybe to get me out of boredom and into the zone. What's the next best step, maybe to down regulate some of that anxiety to get me back in the zone. So it's a constant tension battle that we're playing with here. And I think that, if you think about tuning a guitar, if you tune it too tight, the strings are going to snap. If you tune it too loose, it's going to sound soupy and just not, it's not going to resonate. So how do we tune our own individual guitar so that we're making the music that we want to make? And the science is here, as you can see from this slide. That zone is real. These are deeply researched. This particular challenge skills ratio has been deeply researched. So meet yourself where you're at, find where you can maybe go a little bit more, 1, 2, 3, 4% more, and use some of this imagery around trying to kind of put yourself in those situations.
Well, not only that, but you talked about when things are big, go small. When things are small, go big. I mean, this is really what you're saying. If anxiety is
Mm-hmm.
big, make it small. Bring yourself back down. If something is small, bored, put a challenge to it. It's really
Mm-hmm.
very subtle, and that's why we do the daily emotional check-in, because what it will do, it will be you'll be able to kind of identify with some of these different emotional states, to recognize where you are in that flow, challenge skill ratio. So this to me has been really kind of a good way to kind of play out this idea of, wow, I'm feeling this, what's going on? Where am I in that flow challenge? Am I going to work and I have something that's really big? How can I bring that down so I can get myself back into that flow? But recognizing the fluctuating nature of flow, as it says here, is so critical. And that's why that self-awareness and that deep embodiment to say, well, I'm feeling this. Is it because I'm putting myself in a position where I don't have the skill, or I'm in a position where I'm just really bored? And again, notice the choice to say, what can I do to, again, upregulate or downregulate into that zone again?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we start the whole course off with presence. Because when we're present, when we're in the present moment, we're gaining and gathering more information about how we actually feel. And we're then capable of making micro adjustments. So we don't want to be lurching from, side to side, making kind of radical movements. We want to make small, subtle changes and small movements. And often these types of changes will be, not even visible to the people around us. The way I frame it in my own mind would be kind of like riding down a small path on a mountain bike that's got shock absorbers, surrounded by trees. So I have to stay on the path, right? So I have to keep my focus on the path. There's also a lot of undulation and a lot of bumps that are coming and occurring. So I need to use my shock absorbers and my handlebars to make these small, subtle moves so that I'm capable of sort of staying on my path. My path is my value set, my goals, the direction I want to go. you know, the trees obviously are when I'm going to be, you know, kind of thrown off of my game or off my path. And so, you know, you don't see that type of person making big movements. They're making very small movements. They're using their shock absorbers in their knees and in the bike itself. And that's really what this is all about. We want to build in some shock absorbers so we can be more present, so that we can make small changes and we can keep ourselves focused on trying to stay in that flow channel.
I love that concept of just tuning, just that idea, the subtle fine tuning, moment by moment, you know, it just kind of noticing. And again, it's interesting because as I look at these different feelings that people can go through, if I'm feeling this, you know, to feel it, don't suppress it, understand it and say, okay, if I'm bored, maybe I need to either learn it, you know, maybe read something that's going to help me be better. If I'm anxious, maybe I need to, you know, take a quick break. But again, it's just recognizing how to make those little tweaks so I can stay on the path. It's a great metaphor.
And for you, Scott, like the thing that I always love hearing you say is around our nervous system. What we're really trying to do is to keep control of our nervous system. And I'll just tell you what happens when we don't have control of our nervous system. We go into fight, flight, freeze. Cortisol comes through our body. The stress, you know, chemicals. Our vision narrows. Our flexibility dissipates. Our creativity goes away. And we're really sort of seeing the world through these little pinholes.
Yep.
And we are not then capable of being able to make these micro adjustments and fine tuning. And so what we're really trying to do here is keep us from flying off and getting hijacked, so that we can stay wide-eyed, open to the experiences that we're having. If I'm feeling stressed or sad, I can acknowledge it and recognize it. And I still, though, have the capacity to make a small adjustment. And again, coming back to autonomy, this, you know, from that place, we can actually trigger ourselves to kind of re-engage in flow,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, there's some things, trap patterns that I've done and created over the years to just allow myself to get centered and focused in the moment. And it's honing my zone, you know, and then it again, do I get off my zone sometimes? Do I become, you know, yeah. But I think again, understanding the feelings that are associated to where I am on this kind of continuum really has allowed me to kind of, in a sense, put myself in the driver's seat of me. And I couldn't think of a better gift. So, so we're going to move into the next little section here will be around flow blockers and kind of what keeps us off our game. So we'll see you in a few.